Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 29th of December. It is match day -1, as the kids call it these days, ahead of tomorrow's Old Firm derby. But we've got a new signing to talk about as well. I'm joined by a full squad this morning. First of all, Joshua Barry. We're still up north, Joshua?
Yeah, it's still up north, Derek. I am looking forward to talking about Fabio Silva. It's a surprise that I don't think we saw coming when we were speaking yesterday morning. But yeah, lots of interesting stuff. Hopefully, some interesting stuff on the website for people as well. So looking forward to getting into it.
Chris Jack also joins us. How are we doing, Chris? First time we've been on since Christmas. Hopefully, you had a good one.
Not too bad, Derek. As per usual with Rangers these days, even when we have a full squad, it's still walking winded. You know, Josh has been struggling for a while. I've had my issues to seek this week, shall we say, fitness wise. But glad to be back on, and certainly looking forward to press conference day later on, and also looking forward to the game tomorrow. Time will tell what it brings. We've been counting down to this one for quite some time.
Yes, absolutely. Right, before we talk all things Fabio Silva, folks, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors, the MPH Group. If you're looking for some home improvements or maybe a new boiler, they've got a brilliant winter promotion on just now. They offer flexible finance options, a 12-year parts and labour warranty as well. These are the guys to go to if you're thinking of any of those things. The all-important links are in the description below. Right, Joshua, this signing sort of sped up. When we were on the video yesterday, it wasn't even mentioned, but I think we mentioned it on a video last week perhaps, but it really gathered pace, and Rangers confirming the loan signing of Wolves striker Fabio Silva until the end of the season. There is no option to buy, folks, but it seems to be quite a coup. There were a number of clubs interested, namely a club that Rangers will be taking on tomorrow, but he's chosen destination Ibrox. So well done, Fabio. That's you've made the right move, buddy. And then hopefully you can kick on. But this is an exciting signing, Joshua, because it wasn't so long ago he was heading to Molineux for big money.
Yeah, so it did move quickly, Derek. And after the briefing yesterday, I think yesterday afternoon, Fabio Silva posted the elusive time emoji on his Instagram story, which obviously in football world means something's about to happen. But a busy day for us thereafter yesterday, kind of trying to piece things together and work out exactly what happened and why it happened. So there's a piece on the website that really breaks down the story of the move, how it came to pass, the key players in it, and the other clubs that were interested in Fabio Silva, not just the interest from Celtic, but also interest from across Europe, namely in the Bundesliga and in Italy as well, Derek, and kind of tries to explain and give some details as to why the players ultimately chose to move to Ibrox. Silva is it's an exciting signing on the surface. I think you have to say that. It's not as if there's not risks attached to it. People will point to the fact that Amad Diallo was worth a lot of money when he came to Rangers. I think it's slightly different because Diallo hadn't. It's a topic for another day, but I'd say if you look at his loan spell at Sunderland the next season, he was ready to make more of an impact than he was given the opportunity to. But also, he hadn't played really any competitive football by the time he came to Ibrox. He really was. He'd played a few minutes for Atalanta, but his minutes were largely in the youth league. And then obviously going to make that big money move to Manchester United. Whereas Fabio Silva, yes, he moved to Wolves for near enough £40 million as a teenager, club record fee. But he's played quite a lot of football. He's played for a number of clubs. He had played, I think, 50 games across all competitions. Pardon me. Last season at PSV and Anderlecht, scored 16 goals, 5 assists. So there's definitely an element of, yes, it being a bit of a risk signing because he's not a proven 28-year-old who's going to score a lot of goals. I wouldn't be surprised to still see Rangers move in that area at the top end of the pitch, Derek. But what they have there is someone who, as you say, no obligation to buy. But there's a player of... So I don't know what that. Some sort of alarm going off in the house. A player with obviously clear quality to be signed for that type of money. And I think, again, Rangers would look at his loan spell last season and say, okay, if he's going to be able to make an impact in the Belgian league, if he's going to be able to make an impact at the Dutch league, then he'll be ready to make an impact at Ibrox. So I'll go and work out what that is. But I think the key factor in it is Niels Koppen, described to me by one source as influential in the move overall. He brought this possibility to the Rangers board the week before in a meeting the week before Christmas. think it was actually my mother-in-law's speaker, is what it was. So it looks like it's off
There you
now.
go, folks. You can
From
tell
the
it's
family.
live.
Yeah, there we are. If it goes again, I'll get up. Niels Coppin, as I say, described to me as influential in the identification of the move. Now, he was obviously at PSV when Fabio Silva was at PSV last year. I don't think the player and staff member had a direct relationship at that time. Obviously, he was well aware of him. Clement well aware of him as well, from the fact that Silva had spent that time in the Belgian league, which Clement is very familiar with, having played there, worked there, won a lot there. The things that seems to have been key in Fabio Silva choosing Rangers, and obviously he'd actually played Ibrox before for Porto in that 2-0 game where Stephen Davis and Alfredo Morelos scored, was an early Zoom call with Clement. And I'm told, again, despite interest from lots of other clubs, and even common sense tells you that he'd have interest when he's a 21-year-old who cost that much money. Not quite worked out for him at Wolves this season. There's been a lot of managerial change in the past, perhaps not quite ready to justify the price tag that was put on, paid for him at such an early age. But I'm told that Zoom call with Clement after Coppin had brought that possibility to the Rangers footballing board, as it's now called, as we heard a bit more about at the AGM, that was a real mover in the process, and that really helped convince Fabio Silva. Hence why, Derek, you've seen this move be completed before January, before the New Year's even happened, and he'll join up with the club officially on January 1st. Obviously can't take part in the game tomorrow, unfortunately. But I think that tells you just how set he was on then choosing Rangers as well. So I think it'll be interesting to talk about what the pros and cons are to it, what type of style of player he is. But clearly, Rangers will feel like this is a player who they've beaten off the competition to sign. And I think fair to say from what we know, that the role of Coppin, Rangers wanted a recruitment specialist. They wanted someone who had knowledge just not of the British market, but the wider market as well. The role of Coppin in helping identify and complete this process, the role of Clement and really convincing the player and getting down early in front of the player and explaining why he thinks Ibrox is the best place for him to be over the next 6 months. Kind of all crucial factors in making sure that Fabio Silva signs for Rangers until the end of the season.
Yeah, before I come to Chris, just a few suggestions what that noise was. DJ Sooth says the chicken set off the alarm. Stevie's not on today, so it's not the chicken. Kevin Ross says, sounds like the Train City got for Christmas. And Heather also echoing that. It sounds like my nephew's toy train. James says Josh is in an air raid shelter, but
thankfully not. Not. Just the speaker, which seems to have turned off now, but to be continued.
Chris, a lot of comments coming in saying a Rangers paying his full wage. Damien with the point states online he's on 80 grand a week on multiple sources. Rangers won't be paying 80 grand a week for this boy, will they?
I wouldn't have thought so. We'll do our best to try and find out if they are. Fair play to them for doing so, but I think that's slightly out with the wage budget right now. I'd be surprised. I know there was a report last night saying that Rangers are covering the wages. If it's anywhere near 80, I'd be surprised. But we will try and find out. I think that was the only detail that wasn't in Josh's piece this morning. They covered every single other base apart from that one. But I'd urge everyone to go and get a read at that piece. It really goes through how the deal came about. And as he said, it really unfolded quite quickly yesterday from the initial report of Rangers being a choice. Managed to get that confirmed by a couple of sources at the club yesterday, and next thing you know, it's 6:30 and the obligatory scarf over the head picture is on is on internet, and it's job done. I think it's an exciting signing for Rangers. I think he also addresses a key weakness within the squad. How many times have we spoken on the show about the need for Rangers to have more goal scorers in the side? We know a lot of money was spent on the forward area over the summer. It's not really paid off. I think it's safe to say for various reasons. Rangers had to, I think even if Danilo had been fit, I would still like to see Rangers go and sign at least one. The fact he's then injured and the manager provided that fairly ominous sounding update on him a couple of weeks ago. I think that then moved the goalposts a bit, and Rangers then did two. To get one in before the window has even opened is a really encouraging bit of business. Gives them a bit of time to then get the second one in, whether that's going to be another loan, whether it's going to be an up and coming type from abroad, whether it's going to be someone slightly more proven from Scotland. We all know who that could be. I think there's various different profiles that Rangers could now look at for that other deal. But I think being able to strengthen that area of the side and do it so early is certainly encouraging, because, as I say, we've spoken often enough about the forward options. If Rangers are going to challenge for the title, if they're going to go and win the Scottish Cup, who knows what they could potentially do in Europe. They need bodies first and foremost, but they need a more regular supply of goals. And while Fabio Silva's perhaps not delivered that down south, I don't think that's any massive shame on him, because that's obviously a very hard league to go and score goals regularly. And I think if you look at the games that he has played and the leagues he has done well in, that's a more comparable point to make in terms of Scottish football and the level he's going to be playing at in terms of European football as well. So I think he ticks a lot of boxes for Rangers, and I don't really see the downside on it. Yes, it might be a fairly big financial outlay, not as big as 80 grand a week, but I think it's going to be a fairly big financial outlay. But as Josh outlined, there's no obligation to buy. If it works, everybody wins. If it doesn't, it's obviously a negative from Rangers' point of view, because it impacts our chances of going on and being successful. But I think it was a move worth putting together.
Yeah, absolutely is. I think, although in the comments, not everyone is too enthusiastic with the move. Some interesting points as well. First of all, Dave Fulton says completely unenthusiastic and underwhelmed with the Silva loan, so he's not a big fan of it. Blue Yonder with a point as well, saying that it'll be interesting to see Silva and Cantwell in the same team. They seem similar, are they, Joshua?
Well, their hair is a bit similar. I think he's on his play. I agree with Chris. I think it's probably a risk we're taking. I think if you were to people have naturally negative associations if a player's not quite kicked on, but and again, he's spoken about that, about having a difficult time at Wolves, about the moving for that fee, even if he's had some promising signs there as well. But if you look at a player who's 21, who's had the season that he did last season, obviously played for PSV as well, and who, as we know, are a pretty good team, and has this, clearly has potential and promise that he has managed to show. Again, I don't think it's too. There's obviously going to be some parallels drawn with the Ahmad situation, because just because a player is worth £40 million when they're 18 doesn't mean that no, it still doesn't guarantee anything in modern football. No. However, I think the difference here is a little bit that he has played quite a lot of senior football from quite an early age. So it's not as if you're throwing him in, whereas when Ahmad came up the road, it really was, okay, this is one of your first exposures to first team football up at Ross County away. I don't think that this is the case here. And it's someone that, again, as is elaborated in the piece, not only was this something that was brought forward by Niels Koppen, but Rangers felt that it was a good suit to Clement's style of play and what he wants as a number 9. The athleticism he needs and wants up top as a number 9. We spoke with Johnny on the hour and 3-hour show that he got us today, and he was saying, what do you think Rangers need in January? And you're getting that line between okay, they need to reform some things long term and how they recruit players in the markets they go for. And again, Koppen's appointment was made with that in mind, to try and find someone who had exposure to and expertise in maybe wider markets, who's worked his way up in a club like PSV for a reason. But you also need, and I'm sure Chris would agree with this, even though he wasn't on the show, like he had last season, Rangers have a lot to play for now. Suddenly, when Clement arrived, 7 points behind, their European kind of exports were an afterthought. Now they are in the last 16 of that competition. If you get a good draw, you never know. We've seen it before. There'll be real belief. They've already won a cup, and I think they demonstrated a winning mentality in difficult situations that wasn't there before. Tomorrow will teach us a lot, and I think we'll set a lot of the mood music going into the new year. But I think you can even the most critical watcher would say that Clement has done a very, very good job with the resources he's had so far, and Rangers could never afford to have a transitional season. They obviously need to win, but now they have a real opportunity. From sitting here today, if you look at what could be possible this season, they have a real opportunity to win a lot this season as well. And I think this window needed to not only be about recalibrating the squad in the slightly longer term, but if there was an opportunity like we spoke about, Derek, whether that be last season like Todd Cantwell to get him in early, or obviously Nico Raskin as well, to try and help the efforts before the summer, then I think that makes sense. Silva is a number 9. He's played in different positions. I think if you look where he's going to play in this Rangers team, it's probably quite clearly going to be the number 9, even if at points he might fill in other areas. He's a goal scorer, that's his main thing. Obviously his technical quality I think will be quite obvious given the level that he's played at. Good record for the Portuguese under-21 side as well. So we'll watch a bit more of him over the next few days and hopefully have a bit more details on exactly what he's going to bring to the Rangers team. But the thing is, people will see quite quickly he's obviously available to train on the 1st. You'd imagine that he'll play some sort of a role on the 2nd. This is the area that Rangers really needed to strengthen in first and foremost, and they've done that before the window's even opened. Again, expect them to still be involved in the transfer window and still bring players in. But it was quite clear, even if you look at the game tomorrow, you're behind Cyril Dessers, presuming that Kemar Roofe isn't fit, and obviously Chris will get more of an injury update today. Who'd you bring on? If he's to get injured in 30 minutes, you're looking at moving Sima over and putting Matondo on, who hasn't really played much football since he came back from injury. So Silva as well spoke in his Rangers TV interview about wanting to get into the club early, pushing his agent to get it done. He wants to go across to the training camp with the team at the start of the second week in January. That'll obviously give him as good a chance as possible as kicking on and making an impact, because the season is short and the pressure is going to be on him and others to deliver straight away when the football resumes at the end of January.
Yes, absolutely. There was a comment came in, incidentally, will he be able to play against Kelly on the 2nd? Imagine they would be. It's subject to international clearance, as a lot of these transfers usually are. Incidentally, he spoke to Rangers TV yesterday. He said, "I'm very happy when I spoke to people about Glasgow and the club. Everyone told me good things about the club and its history. I've played here once for Porto against Rangers in the Europa League, so I already know it's a warm club and the environment of the stadium, so everything is perfect. I'm very happy here. I want to start training with the team and see the coaches and my teammates. It was amazing in the beginning. Everyone knows I had other options in other clubs, but when I saw the option to come on loan to Rangers, I was very happy. It was my first option straight away. As a player, I want to win titles, to play for big clubs, feel the pressure in playing big competitions when I was a kid, and we spoke about Scotland. Rangers, for me, was the best team here. I want to play for the fans with my teammates and to win titles. That's the most important thing." Superb stuff from Fabio there, saying the right things. Hugo Bear with a point, Chris, saying Silva want to be part of the Portuguese Euro squad. Absolutely, of course, the Euros in Germany in the summer. That might be part of the reason he has opted to join Rangers as well. An opportunity to play in Europe as well in the Europa League. So I can understand why he's elected to move to the blue side of Glasgow. But you said there in terms of strikers, it certainly fills one role. I'd imagine Rangers will still be looking to strengthen in that area.
Yeah, I think so. Because as outlined earlier on, it's an area of the side that they are short in. As much as Dessers has started to produce over the last few weeks in terms of his just in terms of that goal return, there's obviously still areas of his game that we've all discussed and we all know can be improved on. There's definitely weaknesses there. And Kemar Roofe is just the question that can't be answered. Now, if you can keep him fit and you keep him playing, then you don't need to go and sign another striker. But it's that big question of, can you keep him fit? Can you keep him playing? So I think that's why Rangers will need to go in and try and do another deal. I think it becomes interesting how they then view the profile of that next one. Is it going to be another loan? Do they go and try and spend a decent fee on someone to play a part this season, but then maybe have an even bigger role to play next year? Do you just go for another short-term fix, if you like, which is obviously what Fabio Silva is? So I think it'll be interesting to see how they approach that. It was also outlined at the AGM that the board will back the manager as much as possible. We know that there was a significant spend over the summer. A lot of money went out the door to bolster that, to bolster the squad and certainly the attacking line. And we can all have an opinion on how well that money has been spent. So I think that the important thing for Rangers is to get better value for every pound coin that goes out the door. They need better value for it. If Silva comes in and can score 10, 12 goals between now and the end of the season and we go on and win the league, no matter what you've paid in his wages, that then becomes money well spent. And I think that then is the same for any other bit of business done this year or during this window. Sorry, there's also a chat about left back. People maybe like to see somebody else come in to play wide right. Certainly another striker for me. So I don't think we'll see a rip it up, start again approach from the manager. But I think if we see another 2 or 3, I think that would be a decent window for Rangers, and certainly a real sign of intent, because the situation over the last few weeks has changed. If Rangers had been 10 points behind heading into the Old Firm game, the need to go and sign the likes of Fabio Silva and to make that outlay is probably not there. You could all but, you can't say it publicly, but you could all but write off a title race. It's very unlikely Rangers are going to come back from 10 points behind in the second half of the season, because how much the dynamic has shifted, because of the results they've been able to put together. If the board didn't do all they could during this window and the manager wasn't backed as much as possible during this window, and we then missed out on the title, the criticism would then rightly follow. Now, what's the point in having a manager, bringing him in, and then putting you in that position to go and challenge, and then not backing him? So I think that the manager has held up his end of the bargain. And I think this signing, the fact that it's been done early, the fact there's clearly a significant financial outlay there, it's a sign of intent from the board that everyone at the club really fancies their chances. They're not going to come out and say, we are definitely going to win the league, because no one can say that. But you just get the feeling everyone knows it's there to be one. If they do the right things, if they make the right moves, if they can keep more players fit, the second half of the season can really open up for Rangers domestically and in terms of European competition.
Yes, interesting stuff. There's a few comments coming. I wanted to get to a few of them. First of all, Stephen Gregory with the point says the boys played in various leagues and not kicked on coming into a fierce Scottish game. Incidentally, just a heads up, I'll be speaking to a Wolves podcaster pretty much immediately after this video, folks, to get an idea of how he got on at Molineux, and I'll also be speaking to the PSV commentator this afternoon, where he says he's told me already he'll be a great sign. He helped him win the Dutch Cup last season, scored a very crucial penalty. I think that was it, might have been the winning penalty to seal that trophy for them. So I wouldn't have any qualms about him coming into Scottish football. We all know it's nuances and it is fierce. There's no doubt about it. But I think he's got the mentality to thrive. Let's hope he does do so. Friend of the show, Rangers Review contributor Adam Thornton gets in touch. Morning, Adam. Could do with another wide attacker, ideally a right-sided left footer who can score goals. Do you agree, Joshua?
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think anyone watching the video would disagree. The difficulty is probably quite difficult to find at the best of times, and even more difficult to find in the January market. But it's probably that area of the pitch, the centre of midfield. You and I spoke yesterday, Derek, about the left back issue. I know there's been some noises around that, even over the last kind of 24 hours as well, about whether Rangers are looking to strengthen in that area. Is probably somewhere where Rangers could get by until the end of the season, but it clearly is somewhere that they need to make a long-term decision. Looks increasingly less likely that it's going to be Rid van Yilmaz as the long-term, pardon me, kind of nailed down that starting spot would suggest that. But the centre midfield and as Adam comments, that right-sided option, Ross McCausland has done, I think, brilliantly. But can you rely on him to play every single game between now and the end of the season? No, you probably want a bit of variation in there. I know Scott Wright as well has done well in patches, but he's not really been fit for that long, and he's not left-footed. So that's a gap in the squad that Rangers have not filled for a long time. And I know they've played without wingers for a long time, but they've not really had that profile of a player who's able to move inside. McCausland more naturally moves inside when he goes to the touchline, and he can kind of open the pitch up and play on his left foot. But again, he's still not left-footed. So agree with Adam. If you're being greedy, you probably want another wide attacker, maybe one who's also capable of playing in that number 9 position. Because what Rangers also probably won't want to do is spend maybe a lot more money on another striker. And then if you look at the volume of wages in that area of the pitch, if Roof is there, I know he's injury prone, but he's still part of the squad, so you've got to consider that. When does Danilo come back into the picture? Obviously, Dessers as well, as Chris says, he's been in good form, so you probably want to keep up a position in the team for him where minutes are going to arrive. What you would say is Rangers have still got a lot of games between now and the end of the season, though, haven't they? So competition probably isn't a bad thing, and I think that wide attacker is certainly, if not a short-term priority, will be one that Rangers look at in the summer, because I think especially with the way that Clement's changed the kind of setup of the team, that there's a gap there for that type of player.
Yeah, Damien with the point. What time's the presser today? Clement will be happy. The first question we were a new signing instead of injuries. Yeah, absolutely. The press conference, incidentally, folks, takes place this afternoon, just after 1 p.m. We should hear from Clement about 1:30. We'll be on later on this afternoon on the YouTube members section for the press conference reaction. So we hope you can join us for that. And Chris, a question directed at your good self from Maka. Do you expect a couple of players to be available tomorrow, or will Big Phil keep his cards close to his chest? He's pretty much done that since he's come in. I don't expect him to change today, Chris, but are you hopeful we might see one or two back available for the game tomorrow?
He keeps his cards firmly tucked in his top pocket. Unfortunately, he says very, very little. I think the way that he's spoken about a number of the injured guys in the last few weeks, he's not even teased the fact that maybe we'll be back for the Celtic game. I know it doesn't give an awful lot away, but I don't think there's really a lot there to give people optimism that he's trying to play a blinder and play some mind games. It doesn't really seem his style. So fingers crossed, someone has had a Christmas miracle and somebody's back fit, certainly in the midfield area. But I think the squad that we saw last time out, I think that's probably the same group we're going to have to go to Parkhead with. Also had the benefit, if you like, of not having to play on Wednesday night. So I think that's certainly an advantage to the squad, because a number of those guys have really had to dig deep over the last few weeks. They've put in a lot of big performances, a bit of travelling in there as well, obviously with the European game. So it's been a big ask. And I just hope that the Old Firm game and the Kelly game on the second isn't one step too far for this group. It's almost running on fumes right now. If they can somehow just get through the next couple of days, take a point from Parkhead and a win against Kelly, I think we'd probably accept that right now. Get through that, get into the break. I say that in the second half of the season is then all there for Rangers. So fingers crossed, there's some positive news. But no, the manager will play it how he usually plays it, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. Graham Corkin, good friend of the show, lives down here at my neck of the woods, says, morning all bears and bearettes. Nice little signing on for Silva. Hopefully get back to somewhere near his best in the next 6 months. Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope he does that and he bangs the goals in for Rangers. Right, folks, just a reminder, Josh's great piece on Fabio Silva is on the website. I'd urge you all to go and check it out. The link is in the description for this video as well. It's a cracking read. A heads up of what's coming up. I'm jumping on another video with the wonderfully named Dazzling Dave from Always Wolves TV. Will give us a rundown into Fabio Silva's time at Molineux. I'll also be speaking to Yannick, who is the PSV Eindhoven commentator this afternoon, to give us an idea of how he got on over there in the Netherlands last season when he was on loan. So we've got Fabio Silva content coming from each orifice today, folks. There's not enough Fabio Silva content here at the Rangers Review, so you'll be well covered from all angles. And of course, that big one tomorrow, we'll have the press conference, we'll have all the reaction from Philip Clement and whatever player Rangers put up for the press coming your way, and we'll also have the press conference reaction later for our YouTube members. Right, big thanks to Chris and Joshua, and enjoy the rest of your Friday if we don't speak to you then. Bye for now.